to step forward.
Hey, yo, welcome back to the Then and Out podcast, everybody. We are back with another dope episode. We have some cool stuff coming for you guys.
What did I just hear? What?
Splash. If you're a big YouTube, like you watch YouTube growing up or early days of YouTube, you know who it is. Good boy.
I watch you. I'm older than you. I watch YouTube lower than you. And I have no idea what I heard.
Yeah,
you're not a veteran in the game though, for real. You know, you was there, but you weren't there for real. You know what I mean?
When YouTube first came out, you were literally like 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
Was he that old? Because like you're 2000, babe. I feel like YouTube was like 2000, like what, 3?
Is it 2005, 2006?
It's like 06, 07.
but you you think that we haven't been watching YouTube forever? So I have no idea. You're not gonna give us any kind of actual context as to what we.
Nah, man. If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
And by that, I mean we have a dope topic coming up, guys. This is gonna be kind of a
That's even worse.
episode. It's gonna be a funny episode. I got some dope shit planned. We're gonna have some really goofy stuff to go over, some really dope introspective stuff to go over. You know, we're gonna try to get into every possible inch of a bag that we as a Then and Out podcast have. You know, we got to get deep in that bag. Starting off first, guys, big question, really hard hitting question. I need both of you guys are as old as time, so you guys have seen this thing as long as it's been around. I need your thoughts on which flavor out of the classic box of Frito-Lay chips is the worst flavor, and why is it Fritos?
It's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
We all know that it's Fritos. Like that's not a question. That's the one that's always left at the bag at the end. One boy in the box at the end when nobody wants it. It's just a fact.
Okay, so we know Fritos is dead last. Let's go ahead and rank the other ones.
But if you're so you're saying out of those right there, it has what 3, 5, all the ones that are there actually has them numbered.
Yeah, the eight bags on the front. Yeah.
So white cheddar popcorn ain't never done it for me. I've never been a fan of white cheddar popcorn.
Really? Okay.
So I don't like any popcorn that's not just regular buttered. Like if it's something else on it, it's just wrong to me. Like caramel cheese or anything like that. It's just why do that? I know like in Chicago, Garrett's popcorn is a really popular place, but I've always hated it. I always
what is Garrett's? What's Garrett's got?
Not important.
Okay, it's best left unsaid.
Okay, so we got Fritos at 8, and so I guess we're putting the white cheddar at 7.
I don't eat those, so that's like 9 out of 8 to me.
I mean, yeah, I guess
that's eating the Fritos over you eating the white cheddars though.
Yeah, at least I'll eat the Fritos.
Damn,
I won't touch the white cheddars.
All right, so we're just gonna say put the white cheddars at 8 and Fritos at 7.
I've actually never seen those in that bag.
Yeah, that seems weird.
All of the ones minus the white cheddar, like that's usually not there at all.
It's a weird combination.
I remember that being in there all the time.
The white cheddar popcorn and a bag of Frito-Lays. Like what? Is that even by Frito-Lay?
I don't know. There's like an updated classic mix, but I remember like again, I don't know. But for me, I got the Fritos at 8. They'll forever be at 8. I'll put the white cheddar at 7. I eat them if they're there. I don't really have a preference per se. Yeah. We know Otis said he put them dead last. Where are you putting the white cheddar? Ethan, you putting them last too?
Yeah, I was the one who said dead last first.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. My bad. Next up, where you guys putting at the 6th spot?
Plain Ruffles.
I put barbecue chips at 6.
Really? Okay.
I love barbecue sauce on ribs and everything else, but barbecue chips, it's so artificial. It's not real barbecue.
Yeah, it is that weird like grape or like orange juice or apple juice where it's like it's not apple flavor, but it's apple flavor. If you catch my drift.
Yeah, it's not apple. It's apple flavor. Yeah. It's saying barbecue. Yeah.
I think I probably put barbecue. I'll put Ruffles at 6. I feel like I eat barbecue Lays more than I eat Ruffles. I don't know if that's because of choice though, or because just the availability, because they're just always in whatever fucking box I have.
Word. The thing is that they do at least taste like Ruffles chips still taste the same. It has the weird, of course, texture, but it tastes the same. So.
If it was the cheddar ones, then I'd be different. Then
that'd be higher on the list if it was a cheddar sour cream ones. But
of course, yeah. We're getting to full blown like.
Oh no, I told you.
Yeah.
This is the important one. This is the most important topic of the show so far.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first topic of
Maybe
Exactly.
split hairs.
Keep the best. Fuck leaving the best for last. We put it up front. God damn it. Sorry, editor, cut that out.
This is live.
A live show.
Number 5. We're going to number 5. Where are y'all putting at the 5 spot?
That's where the barbecue lays are for me.
Okay. I think that's why I put the Ruffles at for me as well.
So there's Doritos. That's Cool Ranch, right? Number 2. What's number 6? Is that just plain Doritos?
No, yeah, that's the nacho cheese.
That's the nacho cheese.
Nacho cheese.
It's classic. Is that
I mean, I guess if I still like Ruffles. Ruffles are cool with me. I guess I'd put the Chester Cheetos next. I don't know.
What?
really?
Because the thing is also, I mean, they're cool and all, but I don't want to get my hands all effed up, man.
Oh, you know what?
Teeth.
I lied a while ago. Slide everything I said up one spot because I'm putting regular Lay's dead last.
Really?
But beefy guy with regular Lay's, man, they're great.
You just don't like a few. You eat them because they're there, but it just tastes like salt to me, like potato and salt. There's no like flavor to it.
Like,
As you get older, I mean, that's what I say. As you get older, man, salt is the best. Salt is the goat of goats.
Thing is, though, if you have other options of Lay's, 9 times out of 10 people are going to pick other flavors, like whether it's dill, sour cream, or whatever else. No one picks regular Lay's over other flavors of Lay's if they're available.
I would probably take the plain Lay's over the barbecue ones.
Plain, yeah, I would 100% take plain over regular barbecue. But here's the thing: add to that what you just showed us there, Dev. All we have as far as chip flavors are plain and barbecue. Then you have nacho and cheese and Cool Ranch and stuff like that. So it's if there was more flavor. I mean, y'all know my favorite flavor of all time is salt and vinegar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not here. So I mean, out of those two flavors for chips, I have no problem with plain Lay's. It's cool.
So have you tried the dill flavor of Lay's yet?
I have. It's okay. It's okay.
They're fired at me. I've how do I say this? Partaken in the devil's lettuce and just destroyed an entire huge bag of those in one afternoon. And it was not I felt bad about that the next day. Anyway,
I mean, we'll let y'all know too, real quick. Partaken is not a word, but that's fine.
Partaken, right?
No,
not partake in?
Tense of partake. That's not a word.
Partake in.
Partake. You can look at it if you want. Just partaken is that a word?
No, partake.
No, not partake.
And then
like 2 words.
Oh, partake space
In.
in.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, wait, I know.
Partake in. I don't even know if that makes sense. But okay, all right, we'll leave it.
Because it's like almost like redundant saying partake.
Yeah, because partake. But okay, we'll.
So how do you say? You just I partake water.
I would say I've indulged in this.
Yes.
I've had.
No, if you had to use the word partake
this.
Though.
You sound like
you're a genius. You know how to use partake, right?
He's like one of those dudes that's trying to sound smart, like he went to college but dropped out in 8th grade.
Explain it to me then.
I can't really
partake.
Partake, like why that word specifically? Because there's so many other words to use.
That was the word that was chosen, my man. That's
like because partake is such a vague thing because it could mean like, oh, I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna smoke this thing, I'm going to I'm going to go to this place. Like you can partake so many different ways. So like, why use that for like food specifically?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, usually people don't. I will partake in these chips. It's like, all right, I don't know what that means.
That's like being overqualified to the job at the dollar store. Like, partake in some
crazy.
chips. Like, okay, bro, just eat them. Like it's okay.
Anyway,
I do need someone to. I want to see Charlie's interview at a dollar store as far as him wearing a really nice suit and being using all kinds of $5 words there.
If I went to an interview for a dollar store, it'd be the interview to own the dollar store. I'm not. No,
that's
what
I figured. Yeah.
No, thank you.
You have to get interviewed to own it. I thought you just gotta have the.
I know you have to go like Chick-fil-A. Like Chick-fil-A, they make you interview to own a franchise.
For the franchise. Yeah, I don't know if you had to interview to own a.
Yeah.
Anyway, shout out to our producer, Cito, in the wings.
Numero 4, the 4 spot. Where we going? Where we going with the 4 spot?
Wait, so what we got first? So right now we have
So
Fritos,
for me, I have
popcorn.
I have the classic Lay's last, Fritos, the white cheddar bites or cheddar popcorn,
Yeah.
and then Ruffles. That's my 5 right now.
Okay.
My bottom 5. We're entering top 4 territory.
All right. So for me, I think for me, and I know me and Otis, we have Fritos and Smart Pop at the bottom. I also have Lay's barbecue. Those 3 are my bottom 3. I think Otis, you have your
Yeah, I got
fourth
Lay's
bottom
barbecue and plain Ruffles. Ruffles is
Plain
only down
Ruffles.
there because like they destroy the roof of my mouth every time.
They do. They will do that. That's facts.
But
That's
hold
facts.
on. Oh, do you eat Captain Crunch then?
No, I don't eat cereal.
Nah, I've eaten.
Oh
Captain
yeah, I
Crunch
forgot
for
about that.
years.
You don't like cereal? That's crazy.
Yeah, Captain Crunch is there's no Crunch Berries is designed to hate you.
But yeah,
So
I hear that they are like methods of torture. Like
it's like waterboarding and then Crunch Berries.
So I knew I was a sadist or a masochist. Masochist, that's what it is.
Sadomasochist. Masochist is someone who actually likes torturing somebody else.
I like torture myself with Captain Crunch because
there you go.
Boy.
You get all kinds of words. Partaking in, you can say you partake in torture. But
yeah, like partaking in masochism or sadism, that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Like partaking some chips, that's like that's
That ain't get a clip added of the more you know for the show.
Partake in some chips. That's that's Shaq. All right. So
All right, Negroes, you're number 4. Let's get these number 4 spots.
Number 4. So I said Cheetos is my number 5, right? So my number 4 then shit. Yeah, okay. I put a Ruffles at my number 4 then. I put a Ruffles at number 4.
You despicable Negro. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm probably putting. I'm just playing Doritos at number 4.
The classic nacho cheese.
Yeah, the nacho cheese. Yeah.
Okay.
No. I lied. It's the classic Lays. The classic Lays are 4. Yeah, classic Lays are 4. I don't know why I was classic Lays 4.
I would have been kind of sad if you put that in your top 3. I would have been like, damn. I would have lost just a little respect for you, just a little though, not too much.
I mean, what's your number? What's your number 4 then, Deb? Do you say number 4?
My number 4, I'm probably going to put. Probably gonna put the barbecue Lays at number 4.
Yeah, get rid of those things.
Put my number 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get into the top 3 here. Top 3, you know, there's no wrong answer here. You know, everybody is just within the same realm of praise here. So where you guys have your top 3?
So I'll go ahead and put the plain Lays at number 3 then. Plain Lays there.
Really? Ew, man.
Yeah, the nacho cheese Doritos at number 3.
I'm probably putting the regular cheap. No, I lied. I'm putting the Blue Ranch Doritos at number 3 for me.
Yeah, okay. Blue Ranch. Blue Ranch makes me think of like blue cheese and ranch, which is terrible. But Cool Ranch, yeah, definitely. If they had blue cheese Doritos, I'd burn the bag. I just run over my car.
That doesn't sound like a blue cheese and tortilla chips is a weird combo.
It's a white combo. It's Caucasian. It's very Caucasian. It's like aioli and barley or something.
You ever heard of fusion restaurants, my guy?
Yes.
Duder. Okay. So wait, that was my 3. Otis, Ethan. Or Ethan said his 3 was the Lays, right?
Lays plain, yeah.
You know, I said mine was a nacho cheese Doritos.
Gotcha. Okay, top 2. Top 2 for me.
Cool Ranch Doritos.
Cool Ranch Doritos. Okay, for you for number 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my number 2, I say Cool Ranch number 2, and then yeah.
Ranch. Okay, then. I think I'm gonna put the Cheetos at number 2 for me, like the regular Cheetos, which by default means that nacho cheese Doritos for me reign supreme.
Yeah, I put that by number 1. Yeah. If I was choosing that,
Cheetos number 1 for me.
Okay, cool. Hey man, I'm glad we were able to partake in that endeavor together, you know, and go down a journey.
That works. That works better.
You want that word? You want that word bad? You want that word bad? Okay.
Hey, baby, it is what it is, man. If you like it, I love it. I can sell fish to an ocean, man. Going into our next topic, which is the clickbait thing. I know everybody came here probably if you've seen the video at a later date, you saw the thumbnail, and you came here for all the toxicity when it came to the big 3 conversation, which being us, we're not going to get toxic, but I wanted to have something a little lighter, you know, to kick off before we got into this not introspective. It's a dumb topic if we keep it a bug. Revisionist history in general, but I mean, especially reference to the big 3. I personally have seen in all the different nerd groups that I'm in that there's this big thing going on where people some being honest and some in an effort to be contrarians will pick at all kinds of older anime and regard them as trash or talk about animation of something. Go ahead, my boy Lelouch. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? That's me. I'm one of those people.
Oh, you one of those people? Okay.
Yeah.
For
You don't
me
call everything
personally,
trash. You actually watch the older stuff. You don't call
he'll say mediocre. He doesn't say trash. I will sometimes he'll say trash for certain shit.
But one of his favorites though is
Yeah.
from the 90s.
Inuyasha is borderline trash. Like
No,
I'm spitting on
I
that
mean
one.
like Yu Hakusho from 90, with that 93.
Great, it's goated.
94. But that's an older show. You're not calling it
Mhm.
trash because it's old. That's what I think Charlie's saying now.
No, yeah, not the issue that I have is people like growing up will be huge fans of a thing, and not saying you have to have the same taste you have had when you were like 7, but you like these things for a reason. You gravitated to these things for a reason, and more than likely, you were a fan of these things until you saw something that built upon those things that got better, or at least more palatable in your eyes. My thing I have is why, even outside of the big 3 anime or anime in general, why do you guys think revisionist history has become such like a big thing now? Is it a thing where people want to be contrarians, or is it a honest thing where people are just seeing things for what they are now? I guess.
So when you say revisionist history, what I think of is actually changing the story or changing the ideas. Like it's like Christopher Columbus. We used to love Christopher Columbus, but way back in the day when I was an itty bitty kid, I was like, "Yo, this dude was actually doing some harsh shit and trying to change the facts."
Yeah,
to
that's
align with your
revisionist
opinion.
history. Yeah.
That's revisionist history.
We calling you by this definition. We calling this shit revisionist history for now.
What? So what do
But,
you
like,
mean? What is
by
it, what
that,
is it?
I mean,
Having
going
one
back and
opinion
looking at
at one point and then having a different opinion years later, that's not revisionist history.
No, this
That's
isn't
just
a
changing
this isn't a
opinions.
years later thing. This is something as far in regards to some people have called these shows trash or had opinions that weren't among the general populace.
Sure.
But
Sure.
it's becoming a trend as of late to where you see a lot of people hopping on and saying this stuff without really giving it much thought. Because what they'll do is they'll regurgitate things that they've heard other people say without seeing like the need to be different and the need to have an opinion that's not of the general populace. I guess I'm kind of answering it for myself in regards to people having the need to feel like they're part of this in group because they see that as the correct group, so they want to say shit to feel part of that group. Do you guys? I guess a better phrasing would be: do you guys believe that people actually think this stuff, or are they just saying it to fit in?
I mean, it's a little column A. You can go with this. You go first.
It's like, honestly, I couldn't care less. People gonna say what they want to say. I'm a person that will push the needle like that intentionally, just because, like, I do think that a lot of older stuff is overrated. And I'm very open in speaking on that because I do think that it is good to compare new things to old things sometimes, especially when it's on a field like entertainment, like, something that you can directly, you can watch an episode of Yu Yu Hakusho, then you can watch an episode of Demon Slayer, and you can compare how you feel about the two of those things. But like, in other cases, like, like with sports, you can't, like, comparing eras. It really that's really not really a tangible thing just because there's so many different factors there. But yeah, I mean, if people were wanting to challenge the mainstream thought on a thing, I think they're welcome to do it. Whether they're doing it for attention or whether they're doing it because they actually believe it is, I mean, it's not something that most of them will ever even admit. So I mean, questioning it, it's just going to start an argument.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess part of it, to answer your question more directly, Charlie, do people do it on purpose just to cause controversy, or do they actually feel this way? I think it's both. I think some people do want to cause controversy, like Oda said. Some people want to get into a fight. He may himself do it just to kind of rile things up. But I think younger generations, like if I try to show Dragon Ball Z now, let's say to a 10-year-old who had never seen a single episode before, who's used to watching other anime, like used to watching Demon Slayer or My Hero, or the Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War, what have you, they'd be like, "Huh? What is this?" It's because you gotta remember back in the day, Dragon Ball Z, originally, I'm talking about the Raditz saga. Even before Vegeta and them showed up, it was rough around the edges. Also, the pace of those shows was dreadful.
Completely different. Like,
and Naruto was even long. It had literally half of a 700 episode run was filler. What are we doing? So it's
42%.
Try watching One Piece. Try watching One Piece. The first 200 episodes, which look like actual dog ass. And the pace of that. So it's like, yeah, there's no denying that those shows were rough. But again, that was that era. That was the 90s, earlier 90s, and what have you. So it was a very different time. But I was a kid watching any kind of anime with any kind of actual action. I loved it. I loved the soap opera aspect of it. But I can't go back and watch those shows now myself. I can watch certain moments from them, but that's about it. I love watching parts of the Vegeta versus Goku fight. I love watching parts of Kakashi versus Obito or whatnot, but I can't watch these shows in their entirety. No way at all. So I get where people are coming from. If there's someone my age that's trying to attack these shows with 2023 eyes, having seen them and they're trying to overanalyze them now, they may have a different kind of agenda. You have to factor in the era that they existed. Otis mentioned basketball or sports, kind of comparing the two different eras. If you try comparing Wilt Chamberlain's days to the days now in the NBA, when there was no 3-second violation, it's like it's still a different time. When they're wearing little Daisy Duke shorts and stuff, you have to factor in.
Those are coming back.
You had to factor in the era of these things when they're around. That does matter. So it is what it is.
So kind of the branch off that point, not too far though, but on kind of a similar token, if we're using the comparison to sports, obviously. With basketball discourse, there's a thing in like NBA talks where there are some people that want to uplift and constantly portray the older generations as the best for whatever reason, and then there's the also other side of that extreme where people try to add, I guess for my coinage of it is hyper context, where they try to contextualize things in a way that's kind of is true to an extent, but also kind of unrealistic and not as true as you would perceive it as. The issue I kind of have with stuff like that is those things were around and great for their time. Like you said, in context, they're great for their eras. But the issue I have is when you kind of like devalue that thing as a thing. You can apply context and look at the positives and negatives, because even with stuff now, there's positives and negatives to it. Nothing's perfect. Just like there wasn't anything perfect then. But for you to go back and look at that thing and then dub this thing as trash, seeing how it pushed the genre forward, seeing how much it affected not only people of that time period, but even people that may have seen like Naruto, for existence, it has a lot of holes in it, but there are plenty of people now that may be Otis's age that have never seen it, that I was introduced to it, they'll fall in love with it, and it came out however long ago, and they watched the beginning of it. Now, obviously, like we said, Naruto has a lot of holes and a lot of issues with it, but for somebody to then look at that thing and then dub that thing trash, which if we're keeping it a buck, we usually hear that word trash thrown around when we're contextualizing things like that in comparison to something else that they want to hype up and push up in the rankings of stuff. You rarely see people like actually talk about that thing as it is. It's usually in a comparison to something else. So that's kind of my issue I have with it, as far as like taking that thing and then just trying to devalue it to an extreme point rather than just apply context to it.
But I think part of it too is we're in a different era. When I was a pup, there was no internet. I know it was before time existed and the Earth hadn't started rotating yet. But still, the idea of criticizing things was very, very new, and we didn't do it that much. Now people love to criticize anime, all kinds of anything anyone likes at all. People love to criticize it. Sometimes just for clickbait, like we were saying earlier, to deliberately target high-profile shows like the big three, like Naruto and One Piece and Bleach or what have you, or even DBZ or whatever. Of course, people want to do that because you can spark a conversation very easily. Calling it trash, calling classics, calling them trash, without factoring any kind of context into it at all, you're just trying to be a troll on some level. These things mean so much to so many people for so long, for all kinds of reasons. And think about how influential they were. Think about how, Naruto, I saw a kid at the dealership this week. He must have been, 10 years old, that was doing the Naruto run from one side to the other side. So it's still influencing people to this day. To just dismiss it as trash is bull, Yeah,
if you're calling Naruto, well, if you're calling any of the big three trash, you are trolling. Like, they might not be the greatest stories, but trash is an overstatement. Like, reserve that energy for Inuyasha because it deserves it.
And obviously, this is most likely just semantics and how people use the word trash in their own way of like determining, like, trash to you could be less bad to me versus the next person is what it is.
But trash is a pretty harsh word. Trash is a very generalized dismissive word. You call something trash, you're not saying it's lackluster. You're not saying it's not as good as it could be. You're saying it's just bad outright.
That's why I like to use the term garbage sometimes. You know,
or garbage, or partake, or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. You better say something, Otis?
No, I'm just gonna add another thing that we know is trash, and like Matrix 4, and like that's trash. Like
this nigga gonna find a way.
And Warner Brothers hates everything about us. But what I do like though is that when we say that, even though it's the same trash, whenever we say something, we at least we can back it up. We actually have claims. We know what we're talking about. I haven't trash about one anime or another. I just came back and time.
Yo, I thought that he got lost in the Matrix for real. I was like, whoa, what did I do?
I thought he was thinking really hard for a second. I was like, what the hell?
I knew it stopped.
Oh, my screen's freezing up. Yeah,
your screen and your audio. I was like,
y'all froze up on me too. Then his Otis' eyes were like,
see, there it goes again. There it goes again.
Oh,
I'm gonna restart mine. Come back. I'm gonna restart mine. Come back.
Okay. To I guess to continue that conversation while until he comes back. When it comes to that conversation of considering something trash or not, and the devaluing of it, it's I don't understand. I mean, I understand because everybody wants to. Usually, it's for attention. Whenever people are being trolls about certain things of that nature. But I also find it kind of interesting to see like there's this negative connotation with that, because the problem you have that I see is when you talk about those older things being trashed, and you start to build a negative connotation with things from previous eras, and like your resistance to want to view those things because you view those things from that generation as a certain way. Like me and you love basketball. From a basketball fan perspective, I went back recently and rewatched the 1972, I think the 1972 finals with Willis Reed and Will Chamberlain, just because I've seen a lot of people talk about Wilt and how crazy his numbers were. I wanted to see that stuff in actual time. And me, because I enjoy basketball as itself, I went back and viewed that thing. Now, a lot of other basketball fans, you don't have to like it or go back and view that thing, but don't have the negative connotation be the deterrent from going back and viewing it. Don't view it because you don't want to view it. You don't enjoy that era of basketball. Don't just not look at it because you've heard it was bad. So now you won't look at it for yourself. I think when you build that like a mass narrative like that, you start to hinder people's ability to think for themselves. And
see, that's going into a much bigger issue, which is the fact that a lot of people are sheep. Like they are going to follow the popular opinion or the opinions of people that they value, instead of actually forming one for their own. That's something that is a much larger issue, and it's not even just like inside the big three or within anime. That's in everything. Like there are some people that legitimately won't do something or won't buy something, won't even acknowledge things unless it's christened by somebody else they deem valuable.
Mm-hmm.
That's two different conversations that you're talking about. Essentially, people who are, you're saying too, Charlie, people who only will listen to what someone tells them to do. The sheep that need to be influenced into doing something. There's a whole career of influencers, people who do that kind of shit. There's also people who are like Stephen A. Smith and everything who yell at people all the time about their opinions and it's like they're fact. And then there's people who look at past media or sporting events, what have you, with a different kind of eye, through a different lens. I'm a hardcore fan of movies. You know how much I love movies. One of my favorite movies of all time is Beverly Hills Cop. If you look at Beverly Hills Cop now, the action in it, you'd be like, this is very dated and kind of tired and lots of wide shots. You may not be able to watch it and enjoy it. But I watched it years ago in the 80s, around when it kind of first came out, and I loved it. So it's my opinion of it when I saw it is going to be very different than Charlie's if he sees it now. We're trying to get Charlie to watch like other movies too.
And I may enjoy it. Like for me, I grew up around my old grandparents, so I would watch things like the Andy Griffin Show. I'd watch things like oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name of the show with the Cuban husband, and I love Lucy. I would watch shows like that, and I would enjoy them for what they were. Like sometimes I wouldn't understand a lot of the majority of the references, obviously, because it was from a different era. But like I can understand the message that they're trying to tell in the episode. Usually they were trying to say give some kind of message out for whatever you call it, programming, whatever you will. But I can enjoy that stuff, even though it's not from my era. I just won't understand all the references and some of the things from the era contextually.
But you think about it this way too. If you're comparing I'm sorry, let's let you go 1 second. If you're comparing anime specifically, like look at like a fight scene in Jujutsu Kaisen now, as compared to a fight scene in Dragon Ball Z Namek Saga. It's like, those look very different. Of course they do. With Jujutsu Kaisen, they have seasons where they only make 20 episodes. That's it. DBZ, they're making episodes nonstop every day for years. So it's like it's
there
very
were some of those Namek fights that still ring to this day to me. I mean, like I don't
us, but again, a new generation.
I can't even say that. I have like again, my little cousins, Pokemon came out like before I was around. And they love Pokemon. Like my older cousin, he's older than me. He put me on a lot of nerd stuff. He made sure to have them watch the beginning stuff because that's when he grew up watching it. And they love that stuff. The way I kind of view it is like, again, going back to food, different flavors of food. Pizza tastes drastically different from tacos. But I enjoy both of those tastes for their own different reasons. I can enjoy a fight from Yu Yu Hakusho, but then also watch a hyper crazy animation of like My Hero and enjoy both of those things for their own different reasons. The issue I have is when it comes in is when you build this narrative around everything from the era of Inuyasha, people start to think in their head that, oh, this stuff isn't as good as this stuff, or it's not good, so it's not worth my time to go back and look at it.
I mean, that's on them.
I don't think like addressing like shows individually like reflects the entire era. Because like I mean, you can have two shows that came out in the exact same year, and one could be great, and the other could be trash. Like. And it's also just like a subjective thing. Some people will enjoy things different than other people. Like I like a prime example. Like let's go to DBZ, right? Like I still think that the Piccolo versus 17 fight is one of the greatest animated fights, period. Right? Like I think that is like crazy high tier. And then you have what's something recent. A recent fight that I think is trash.
Oh damn!
The time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Really? Which one?
Yeah. Pretty much the entire like last arc of the last season.
He's too OP, yeah. Or she.
Like, Rimuru. We're just gonna call him Rimuru. Yeah. He's just like there's no stakes, and then like you're just like. Removing real like value from the fight, and then you got the dragon is randomly throwing like Hadokens, and it was just a lot going on in that last season. Like again, it's just I think it is okay to really start formulating your own individual opinion. Just because someone says something is great doesn't mean that you have to also think that thing is great. It's okay to have different views on it. And you, in discussing those things, you might actually learn something from the other side that you didn't understand or pick up on before. But like,
agree.
The whole culture of just like, oh, he said it was trash, so it's trash now. Like that's weird to me. But also not allowing people opinions to change over time is also weird to me too. Because I mean, like people change. Like what you are interested in changes. What influences you changes. Like to say that you feel the same way about something today that you did 25 years ago would actually show a lack of growth on your part. So like it's okay to reevaluate things.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Lakers, because then when you're perfectly justified in your beliefs.
Yeah, fuck Lakers.
Anyway.
but one thing too that I think we got one last detail I want to hit on before we move on was just the age of exposure and the way that you're exposed to something too. You're talking about kids watching Pokemon. Little kids, my nephew who's now 15, God, he's 15, what the hell? But he's now 15 and taller than Otis. He first started watching DBZ when he was 3. I remember watching it with me and his dad, and all three of us watched together. Because he was so small, it was the first new bright and shiny thing to him. He liked it. Trying to introduce, if you introduced a person like in their late 20s who's seen so much other anime, so much more modern anime, and then try to watch something go back in time and watch, like you guys, for example, Star Wars Episode 4, 5, and 6. I know you mentioned before, Charlie, how those don't grab you as much because you watched them. I think you may have even watched Episode 1, 2, and 3 earlier, but also it was just those movies seemed more dated to you from the jump, essentially. When I was a kid, though, they were the new bright shiny thing, and I loved them. And so the Episode 1, 2, and 3, they didn't appeal to me nearly as much. It's when you're exposed to something, does make a difference too.
Vaguely, I think for that one it was more so. Well, I'm gonna get into that. We'll say that for a different conversation again at a later date. But yeah, guys, thank you for indulging me in that topic there. I thought I kind of just partaking in the conversation. Yeah, I kind of just wanted to expound upon that just for the fact of the show was created on the idea that us three here have vastly different thoughts and opinions on different things. So I try to encourage people to have your own opinion about something. If you don't like something, make sure you don't like it for your own reasons. You can obviously agree with somebody else on other stuff, but make sure that you actually believe that you're not just giving.
Don't be a sheep. Don't be a sheep.
Can I say something else on top of that? Then I'm not sure if either of you. Okay. I'm not sure if either of you have seen the Mario Brothers movie, the recent one. Probably
can't.
I want to though. I've heard good things.
I saw it on a date. It was a great movie. But the thing about it is, if you probably also noticed, it has a 97% fan score, like a 53% critic score. If you actually see what the critics are saying, it sounds like they're genuinely idiot chills. They have no idea what they're talking about. They're like, what kind of a person would make a video game and say they sound insanely stupid? You see the fan scores are like, it's exactly what I wanted. Actual in the world of Mario, it makes perfect sense. We're talking about things that are being viewed as trash or whatnot. You can have your opinion. That's perfectly fine. You can do your thing, but there are those out there that are going to try to tear down something just because they want to. It has nothing to do with whether they actually liked it. They're just being idiots, basically.
They're projecting.
Part of that too, I feel like a lot of those critics are just old dudes that aren't into that genre of stuff to begin with. So they're trying to judge it through like a critical lens of like The Godfather. But then I'm watching Mario. I'm like, okay, bro, you weren't the one. You shouldn't have been the one to review this because you're just not.
We're not going to talk about the issues with the Godfather's plot lines either. That's not.
We're not yet. I haven't watched those yet, and I've been interested in watching those at some point. Yeah, so we can get into those at a later time. Actually, like kind of what we did with 7.
I'm sorry, I had that tangent there.
7 compared to the Godfather. Well, we're not going to do that.
No need for Scorsese fans. Come on, no, let's not do that. The next thing I wanted to get into, this is something we don't have to stay on very long or even talk about at all. If you guys
one thing before we get off the big three, there is only one big three. There is not a new big three. There's not an old big three. There's not a 2000s big three. There's one big three, and it's Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach.
They have said it though themselves.
Yeah,
they've said
like boomer now.
They've said the words.
No.
They've said the new big three.
That's your big three.
No. I mean
I'm talking about. That's your big three.
No, that's literally like what was christened by the studios. Like they called it that. The Shonen Jump called it that. That wasn't like my opinion. That wasn't like I feel like these are the 3 most important anime. That's what Shonen Jump called them. Yeah, now, if Shonen Jump puts out a new release of saying this is the new big 3, then cool.
But they did. They did say these are.
Yeah.
What they said, they didn't. It's not official. They haven't officially dubbed it, but they've said that these 3 have made more money than those other 3 did.
So I saw the cover when I was getting them together for this.
Yeah, but I guess it hasn't been officially dubbed. These are the new big 3, but they have said these have surpassed the original.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like with the money that Juju pulls in, Demon Slayer pulls in, My Hero pulls in. Like I'm confident that they'll outsell what One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach did in their run. But until I see the official release from Crunchyroll, from Shonen Jump saying this is the new big 3, there's only one. Because there was only one.
All right. Hey, everybody, the Lucia spoken. That word is final. That word is law. Into the next topic, kind of a more vulnerable thing. I know a long time ago, I think like the 2nd or 3rd episode of the Then and Now podcast, Ethan and myself went into kind of some, we talked about insecurities for an episode and kind of got kind of introspective into our own lives. Yeah. It's on Facebook if you guys want to see it. If you really want to see that bad. I wanted to get into the topic of our own personal anxiety and things that may possibly make us anxious or something in the past, if you're comfortable divulging that kind of information at all, just so fans can kind of get to know us and see us as human beings at some point. I know that that's something that people don't really do with celebrity. Well, we're not celebrities, but
It's
with
like
people,
not a celebrity.
yeah, but with other celebrities in general, people that they see as entertainers, that becomes a thing where you don't really see them as human beings anymore.
Things that give me anxiety. Usually like meeting new people. I've developed a skill to be able to do that pretty efficiently. But yeah, like anytime I have to speak to a new group or a new person and try to convince them of something in any way, that usually gives me a bit of anxiety.
Mhm.
Working on pretty much anything that I've never done before, having to do that for the first time, which is a
Mhm.
constant thing in my life, it always gives me a degree of anxiety. But
Mhm.
you gotta do them.
Fair enough,
Yeah.
brother E.
I can't. I'm not sure what I said in the second episode way back in the day, the OG episodes, but
We more so talked about like the visual things that we're self-conscious about or things like that.
sure, that makes sense. And those things will always be there. I mean, y'all met me. Y'all know how I have my disabilities.
Mhm.
So the biggest thing for me is anytime I had to meet somebody, or if I'm trying to date somebody or dating or what have you, that kind of thing. I'm always like, if you guys want to go on a date with somebody, it's like, let's go to the park. It's like, okay, cool. For me, I always had to think 3 steps ahead, literally and figuratively, as far as like where will I be able to go, where I can lean against something, or I might have to stand for a long time, or how long will be on my legs, or all kind of stuff like that. But I was with y'all. We went to the convention, right, to the Big LA
Mhm.
Comic Con, and I knew that was going to tear my legs apart. And I was trying to think how can I navigate how can I traverse this area and make it work. And they threw me a massive curveball and put us in 2 different buildings that I had to walk
Mm.
across. And y'all saw me. I was like, by the end of that day, I was like, why am I doing this? Also, it was the first time I didn't have a table to be at. I had to just walk the entire time.
Right, right, right.
So that's something that'll always be until they figure out a cure for my situation. That'll always be an anxiety for me, is having to figure out how am I going to navigate the world.
If we can choose some RoboCop legs, would you be down for that?
I mean, I mean, if they were good. By the way, his name is Murphy in that movie, the cop.
That's
So
fine.
It's
if you
fair.
can get some, yeah. But that's
Hey,
my biggest vulnerability.
I got a 50-inch vert, just some new ankles. I'll do it.
If 50-inch vertical, sure.
Yeah, I hear Vince Carter and shit with new ankles. Yeah,
It's Carter, yeah.
I'm doing
So
it.
that's it for me.
For me, it's something that I haven't had in a while until I graduated from college, which is moving to a new area. For me, obviously, whenever I go somewhere, I do my best. I love people. I love learning about the area I'm in. So I meet everybody in the area. I learn the historical context of like what was around this place or what this place is or what it means to certain people. So I literally learn everything about the place I live in for a long period of time. So uprooting and going to an entirely new place where I know nobody, I don't know where anything is, I don't know what to even do. It rocks me a little bit. In college, it wasn't as bad because again, you have everything's right next to each other, and you have general guides of other students or professors or people that will tell you where stuff is up front. So it's not that much of an adventure as far as like figuring stuff out. But moving from there to Atlanta and like a whole new area where I'm 2 hours away from either of support systems I have, whether it be family or friends, I was like, damn, this is cool because I'm like in my own spot. I'm starting a new journey, and I love that aspect of it. But like, nigga, just finding out where a gym was like, damn, I don't know how to find this shit out or what. Like, I know how to find it, but the idea of like having to go and find all the things I need, which I knew off the top of my hand or the back of my hand where it was before. It was something that kind of gave me a lot of anxiety in that aspect of it, which I'm getting over with now after being in the area for like almost half a year now. But first getting here in the first 2 months, I was like, damn, okay, where do I go for this or that or this or that, or especially traffic here? And you're like going from riding dirt roads to traffic here. I was like, yeah, this is some bullshit.
But also the idea of feeling, because all three of us have somewhat recently left our homelands, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Otis left Chicago to go to Buffalo, and Charlie, you just very recently left. And I left from the East Coast to the West Coast. Being a traveler in a foreign land, being essentially alone. Otis had Felicia still, but he was largely alone. Charlie, you're completely alone, and I was alone, very much alone too. It's being solitude. I think that for everyone, no matter who you are, how you are, no matter how much an introvert you might be, no matter how hardcore badass you might be, being alone in a new place is rough. Knowing nobody, having no friends, having no support network is rough. I don't care how you slice it.
Yeah. Again, that also feeds into what I was saying before for me. Like, having to do new things, having to find a new barber, having to, pick the right grocery store, having to, find a clothing store that fits for you. Like, all those little things, like knowing where you're going without having to use a GPS, like all those are things that can definitely give you anxiety and going to a new place. I've been here for it'll be 4 years in October, and I'm still learning the majority of the city, just because like when I got out here, it was right before quarantine hit, so like that basically like erased 2 years of my life travel wise. So yeah.
You brought up some really good points there too. Is the idea is the comforts of home, right? Like you mentioned, the barbershop for a black man. Y'all don't know how important that is as far as finding a barber that can get you that right line, that right edge, perfect, that get it crisp. You will travel to get that cut. Dev, do you still actually travel back a couple hours to get you to your old barber?
I don't know. I found me a fire Dominican dude that cuts my shit right, boy.
Okay.
It's nothing but a reggaeton, and that shop when I go in there is fire. I was like, hey, my man.
Since I've been here in Buffalo, I've traveled to Chicago more times for haircuts than I've gotten them out here.
And that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all.
Does Felicia know how to braid hair?
No, she knows how to unbraid it.
Yeah, at that point, if I was you at that point, I'm just braiding my shit like I don't know how often people should get braided. I don't know, bald nigga probably.
I usually get mine usually as long as I let my braids go is like 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But these are important. You also mentioned grocery stores, a food place to get.
Oh,
food.
yeah, that was a big one.
If you're trying to feel like you're at home, like you feel like you're at home, these things matter, because if you had to always check your GPS for everywhere you go, you had to always go to a new store, it looks weird to you. You always feel like you're out of place, and feeling that way, feel like you're a stranger, makes you kind of box up in a way. It's a weird thing. So,
I know one thing that helped me when I first got here, or in general, was finding like your comfort place. So like one place that you enjoy going to, that you go to frequently, and that's like my equalizer, which for me is the dynamic movie theater here. I will go there all the time. Sometimes it may be overpriced, but the experience and the feeling of entertainment and relaxation I get from just going to see a movie, good, bad, or not, that experience kind of like centers me, and it's right next to home too, so I can kind of just dip over and back, and that kind of recenters me for the week after like experimenting with some new food place or a new grocery store or whatever else.
Yeah, no cap. Yeah, the same way.
Yeah, hard tangent, but it's still on the line of movies theaters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any movies that y'all are like legitimately like excited to see? Like not like, oh yeah, that's coming out and I'm like good. Like it's like, yeah, this is out and I gotta see it day one. Like, is there anything like that?
Day one. Yeah, it's really day one.
The Evil Dead remake. The only reason I'm not seeing it day one is just because I don't have time because of work and my new child. But I've heard great things about it. I'm a horror fan.
I did hear great things about it too.
I've heard
good things about it too.
I've heard amazing things about
Evil Dead Rise.
But I despise that franchise, so I'm going to walk into that definitely.
Do you despise like the first one, or you despise all the kooky shit they did with?
Because they're very different. It changed. It takes a very total shift.
Yeah.
Like the tone, like the weird comedy shit, like does not appeal to me in the slightest. I mean, I'm not afraid. Like, I'm not opposed to having like comedic moments in horror to like give you a moment of levity before something like crazy happens. Mm-hmm. Like that's cool, but the way that they do it is like it's almost like nails on chalkboard to me.
It's like slapstick. It's
slapstick. It's like what is it, Three Stooges, I think.
The Three Stooges.
Yeah. I get it. It's like a classic style of comedy, I guess. That
it's Raimi's style. But I get that. But from what I understand, though, this is closer. It's almost like a cross between like this one. Evil Dead Rise is very much like it doesn't hold back from being. It does have some of that weird Ash kind of humor in a sense, but it's not like that. It's not a comedy. It's mainly a horror movie.
I hope there's a cameo, because if he just was in a Doctor Strange movie, I want him to cameo in this one. Ash. or Bruce Campbell.
It's not Raimi didn't direct or
He didn't
produce
direct this one, no.
So I don't know if he put him in the because was he in the last one they did, the Evil Dead remake?
The 2013 one? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think he was a producer for it, but I don't think he was a.
Yes,
At least make him a cameo, like kill him off in like a cool way for a cameo, at least. You know what I mean? Just to, I don't know. For me, if you're handling a legacy franchise like that, where there's a lot of fans, I'm like, you know, it's just little stuff like that that makes it special to people that enjoy it.
No, it definitely can. Like with Candyman, spoiler alert. But with this, I mean, like, is this in the same world? Like, it's the same, like, are the Deadites? Are these the same?
I know the
Deadites that
Necronomicon's in it, so I'm assuming so.
Okay, so it's the same world then.
I'm gonna guess unless the Necronomicon is like a
universe
Nexus thing or something. I don't know.
Right on. Okay.
Moving on into like the last topics is kind of a interesting one. It kind of tripped me out a while ago when I found out about this particular. It's one thing sparked the thought process, and as I thought about it a little bit more, I was kind of like taken aback. I'm like, oh, is that problematic? I guess you can call the segment "Is this problematic?" For me, I think a couple months ago before I graduated, I was like binging the show All American. I don't even like football. It's basically like a football come up story, pretty much. It's a show. It's a CW show. Some people love it. I enjoy it thoroughly, at least for the majority of the seasons I watch. Some people don't. But one thing that tripped me up was that I found an interview on YouTube of the guy that plays the main character, Spencer James. And this nigga is British. And what I mean, that tripped me out because when you hear him act in the show, he sounds like he is from LA, or at least he sounds like he's from America. And I went back to think about it. I'm like looking at people from like things like Snowfall with Damson Idris, and other vast majority of like characters.
Stringer Bell, Idris Elba.
Idris Elba. Shit, having Daniel Kaluuya play I almost said Fred Hampton. Oh, yeah, Fred Hampton. Do you guys see it as problematic whenever they will go across the pond and grab black actors and have them portray people in other cultures here in America? Because you don't really see it in versus much. Like I don't really see a lot of American actors going to play unless you're white. Then
how much British TV? I mean, I'm not sure how much British TV people watch that.
TVs, movies, anything in general. Like, like the fact that like Daniel Kaluuya being from Britain or being from overseas and coming to play a very much so integral person in the part of black people and us progressing as a people in America, like Fred Hampton. Some people see this problematic. I don't necessarily see this problematic. I don't know how I feel about it exactly yet, but I do think it's something worth discussing to an extent, to see with things like that. Because we talk about being very careful with people's culture and what they value. Because people that hate it, I can understand why you hate it, because you resonate with it to an extent, but you feel like you kind of robbed, I guess, to an extent. I don't know why, but I can understand why you feel that way. I feel like you don't, but do you guys have any thoughts on this stuff in general when it comes to people outside of a culture coming in to represent a culture, even though you're not necessarily from that culture?
So, I mean, I always think about it from the business side of it. Like, it makes, like, I understand why, like, even like with certain things where in like most cinematic history, like how things were whitewashed, it's just because like for a movie to get funding, you have to have a draw. You have to have actors that people know, that are going to bring people out to see whatever thing it is. You're going to go with the hot names, like Daniel Kaluuya is going to get some eyes on your stuff. Your John Boyega is going to get some eyes on your stuff. I mean, Damson Idris is going to get some eyes on your stuff. Like, I mean, of course, I want to see more opportunities for the people like us over here to get roles, but the businesses are always going to go for where the money is, and if you're whatever the hot name is at the time is always going to get the most roles and the most opportunities.
So, what about ethically? Where do you stand, or do you care ethically when it comes to you as a black man and this being a part of your ancestry? Do you feel any type of way about it?
Not necessarily, just because what's important is the performance. Like if you casted a British guy and he did horrible in the role, then I'm gonna be more critical of it. But if he kills it and the performance is good, and he portrays the character that he was meant to portray, I mean, I don't really have an issue with it myself. But I understand why some people do, because like people want to see people like us get opportunities. I get that, but like sometimes a person that you fan casted isn't as good as the person that they got.
Right.
Well, also the thing too is we're talking about John Boyega, talking about Damson Idris, talking about Stringer Bell himself, Idris Elba, Spencer James. These people, they were basically nobodies when they got the roles that made them somebodies. They were British actors. I think all of them are British, right? And they all had to put on an accent. And for the longest time, we, the Black nation, didn't even know that they were British. We only heard them speaking it with Stringer Bell. For years in The Wire, everyone thought that Idris Elba was from Maryland. John Boyega, you could see John Boyega in Attack the Block before you saw him in Star Wars. Damson Idris, same way. I only saw the first thing I saw him was in Snowfall. Spencer James, like you said, Charlie, he blew your mind. You found out he actually was British. So it's the fact that they're getting these roles. I don't necessarily think the studios are actually targeting Britain. I think that people are auditioning, and these are the guys that happen to win the auditions. And so in that sense, like Otis was saying, it's about the business, giving the best man the best job, or giving where the best man may win. Essentially, that may be the case. And I think another thing too, the way that the actor, I'm sure you all know this already, that the acting schools in the UK or in Britain especially, they're much harder. They are much harsher. They are trained a lot harder, which is why they breed such good actors. Like Tom Holland, that little teenage wonderkin was able to be Spider-Man. People for the longest time didn't know what he actually sounded, his actual voice sounded like, because he was leagues above everyone else around him in his age bracket. So he got the role. So yeah, it may be upsetting to see people outside our country portraying people in our country, but if they're going to portray us on screen the best, it may be worth a trade-off.
I get that. I think I think with us in America, it's slightly different because you have like the African diaspora, so we kind of feel like we have an inherent connection to Black people all across the world. But I know like a recent thing that it wasn't too big, but a recent thing that popped up was like that fan made poster of like Zendaya playing Maui or playing Moana from that thing, where we feel how you want to feel about her. She's a good actress to an extent. I've seen her perform well in other things, and she looks like this character, but obviously she's not of that Polynesian culture, obviously. So kind of using this like kind of transport. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but there's a lot of similarities in the aspect of this person looks like this character. This person can most likely play this role in a great way, but this entire culture of people will feel like you took something from them that was important because they needed to see somebody like them on that screen there.
But yeah, like you say, it's not quite a one-to-one comparison. Because I mean, like you said, you didn't know that the person plays. Because the guy playing Spencer James is Black. Is he African American? No, there's no American to him, but he is African. He's African.
But he doesn't share our culture though. Like the thing about him is like he's portraying a character in like Compton in America, and he's going through struggles that Black people in America go through. I can't speak to the Black experience in Britain or the UK.
They go through it.
They go through it, but I don't know if they can completely resonate with the things that we go through over here, or even somebody from Africa resonating with the type of like maybe they went through
where you think colonialism came from.
It went through colonialism, but what I'm speaking to is the experience is different though. Like they don't share our shared experience 100%. You have your struggles. Everybody has their struggles, but as far as portraying people that went through our experience, they don't do that. Obviously, with us is different because we see Black people a little bit differently probably than people of other cultures do when it comes to. Plus, we've had a lot of representation, a lot more than other cultures have. So, Polynesian culture, I don't think they've really gotten a lot of Pacific Islanders on screen to represent them outside of like The Rock or shit. Honestly, I can't think of too many other people besides him and his family.
Eugene Cordero,
right? So they're probably a little bit more protective over it than us. We've gotten the Black Panther, we've gotten all kinds of other people to this extent, though. Which again, I think is part of it. But I do think there's something there to talk about and discuss. Obviously, we can't have that conversation to the best of our ability because we're not of that culture. It'd be nice to have somebody that is a Pacific Islander to come on and tell us like your thoughts on it. If you see this video at a later date, so let us know in the comment section. How do you feel about it? Does it make you feel any type of way? Or should we probably get Cito at some point and ask him about that when it comes to people that people.
So like with the Zendaya one, like since like being a Pacific Islander is like literally like a piece of who Moana is as a character.
Yes.
Like I understand like the pushback on that. Like
yeah, I do too.
But like a British black person and a American black person, we still black. Like at the end of the day, like
Yeah.
yeah, like I mean, yes, when we start talking, you see the difference. But you know, a cop pulls us over. He was like, "Oh, you're British, so like I'm gonna pull you over less." Like that's not a thing. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
like
Also,
with that specifically, it doesn't necessarily hit me the same way. And like
yeah.
then like there's a weird double standard with it because like you look at movies like Black Panther. Like virtually none of them were African, but they are all portraying this African country. Like, and we accept that. We embrace that. So like
we do, but I'd be curious to see what people of that culture, because I've heard some stuff about some people feeling some type of way about them portraying using those voices for things like that. But again, because we kind of dominate media, usually like American black people, we kind of dominate social media and media
the
like that.
Movie made a bill. You know what I'm saying? Like
made a bill.
It was supported by enough people to make $1 billion
internationally.
But you can make that movie. You can make that money from just America and like China alone. That's not really accurate representation.
No, not China.
That
China
country.
would not. China would not. Yeah, they were not a fan of that.
Well, they're a huge market when it comes to movies. Though we make a lot of money from movies overseas.
China was the one where they had to cover up Chadwick Boseman's face in the posters because they didn't want to see a black man's face in China in Chinese posters. But the thing about it is, though, it's
still aired over there, right? You make money over there.
I think it did, but the Marvel movies don't make as much money in China typically. The superheroes, like I mean, that's why the closest thing to superheroes in the Chinese market, essentially, or Asian market, is like Power Rangers. They don't really go for superheroes in that digital sense. But another thing was too is that Wakanda isn't actually an Africa, is a real African place. It's a made up place. So even though you can get offended by it, it's like, well, this isn't real. This is people, you can have influences from other African nations, but this actually isn't real African nation itself too. So there's a few other things that are kind of involved with this. It's a murkier situation you might think. If we're going back to the idea of importing actors to portray American characters in general, that's one thing, and I can get why they might set you for one reason or another, but it's been happening since the dawn of time, basically.
Since movies existed.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I think is generally funny is how the character that plays Superman, he's they say peace, freedom, the American way, whatever it is. Something about the American way is part of his whole mantra. And the guy playing him most recently was Henry Cavill, who was British as shit. So it's kind of like or you have someone like Sherlock Holmes, the most iconic British character in all of time, most recently portrayed by Robert Downey Jr. in the movies. American actor. So it does happen both ways. We may not see it or know about it as much, but it does happen both ways. That's part of how it goes. That's the idea of acting. Acting is pretending. Period.
Fair enough. I think there's some things that you should go back and think about there. I think that's kind of using the whole concept of like, well, we've been doing it for a long time, so we can continue to do it on. I think there's some things you should poke and prod at there. Something like for example, like if somebody were to use Black culture and Black linguistics and create this made up Black city, like if it's not Atlanta or it's not LA or it's not Compton, but we can still use all these aspects from your culture and we'll use these in our things, and it's white people doing that, or it's somebody, you know what I mean? That's probably it's an overexertion there, but I do believe there's more context to be had there, and I don't quite think we can have 100% accurate of a conversation when it comes to other cultures because we're not of those cultures yet. Well, not yet, but we're not of them. But I would love to have that other side of a dialogue, because obviously somebody dislikes it. And I looked it up. I think Black Panther made 105 million in China. I think he said it made $1 billion. It said 808 million for the opening box office weekend, but I don't know. It was just a conversation I wanted to have. It's something that I thought it'd be good to discuss here. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts were on the topic, and if we rambled or if I rambled, I'd talk out of my ass. Let me know.
One thing you should definitely do if you get a chance, you're watching, just look up how many British actors or Australian is another one too. Non-American actors portray American.
Oh, I did. That's why I was like blown away when I looked that shit up. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm saying to the fans, people watching this show.
Oh yeah,
for fun, not you, Dev. People just watch it.
Look at the cast of your favorite CW show and see how many of those people are actually American.
I was like, wow. But yeah, it's
My last point, I guess, on that too, kind of a slight branch off is, like you said earlier, Ethan. I do think that overseas, when it comes to those acting schools and the arts in general, is taking like it's regarded probably a little bit higher than other countries, because like when you I've seen interviews where a lot of these even black actors will talk about like how they all were roommates or they all went to the schools at the same time, they all knew each other, and talked about how difficult it was to master their craft. I'm like, damn, I really wish there was a lot more opportunities like that, or a lot more places that are probably affordable to where black kids over here could get that same level of teaching and things of that nature. There's a lot of like YouTube videos and probably like cheaper small schools here and that you can go to, but I wish there is a way that, I don't know, like a big affordable way, because I feel like with things like art and the arts in general, when it comes to schools and learning formally, I feel like it's usually like crazy expensive and out of reach for a lot of people that aren't in the tax brackets over there versus over here. And I don't know, that's why I love things like nonprofits that seek to kind of give that kind of opportunity to kids that normally wouldn't get it.
Yeah, and like like in the UK, like college is free. Like you don't pay for that. Over here, it's
Can bankrupt
$1 million to get through a full stint of school of college.
It's
And
mid
that's
five figures
intentional.
for 1 year. Yeah.
It's intentional.
Yeah.
That's enough for the episode.
All right. But yeah, guys, we had a great episode.
Went from talking about Doritos and
I told you we were gonna go through the gauntlet, my boy. Told you. Last big announcement, major announcement for the podcast. We have a official mascot of the show, guys.
Hey.
This is the new mascot of the show, Akamaru. He is a nice boy. He's an amazing boy, and I don't know. Well, if he's well behaved at some point, I'll bring him on the show.
Nobody do him like Akamaru got did in the Sasuke retrieval arc, please.
No, he gets attention. He gets attention, and it will not be hoed at all. He is the realest of niggas.
Yeah, he's cuter also.
Just if you see anybody named Sakon, just keep him away from that dog. It didn't go well for
Jesus.
For him. Yeah.
Funny quick story about this shit. Whenever anybody asks what his name is and I say the name, I can obviously tell who's watched the show, because people will like be like, huh? Immediately, or people be like, oh my god, that's amazing. Like the guy at the vet office was like, I've never gotten an Akamaru, and I'm so happy I finally got an Akamaru here. I was like, hey, you a real one. You a real one, G. So I knew he'll take care of my dog. But yeah, guys.
That's cool. You actually you tied it all back around though, because you were talking about the big three with Naruto, and you brought it back with the mascot name. So it all
third eye open, brother. Come on now.
Came back around. Partake in the third eye. Partake.
Do you guys have any closing remarks before we ready to get out of here?
My order for the big three is One Piece, Bleach, Naruto. Naruto's at the bottom of those. Just throwing that out there.
You mean as far as the one you like One Piece the most?
No, like the quality of the shows. One Piece has the best narrative. Yeah, One Piece sure has the best narrative. It's not a question.
One Piece is the most deliberate story from the jump. That was the whole point. Was he was writing a story. Yeah, and the manga is better than the show. Let that be known. The manga does more and has the anime is like what is thousands of thousands.
It's like 14 minutes of recap, 10 minutes of show, and then 2 minutes of the intro.
Anyway, yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Then and Now podcast, and we will see you guys next week for some more dope stuff. Peace.
Beach.
Yeah, no shade today. I'll be nice.
I'm surprised.